Thanks everybody for joining us today. We're really excited about today's episode. We're going to be making some changes kind of in the direction we are going with topics for the next foreseeable while. And we're going to be kind of basing it around this concept that I will let Josh introduce because he's the genius that came up with it.
I don't know that I'm a genius. I actually think these are some principles that are probably good to apply. I'm not in my 20s, right? Do I dare say how old I am?
You look like you are.
I look like I'm about to say it, or I look like I'm in my 20s.
You look like you're in your 20s.
I'm 35 years old, and I don't think I look 35 years old. But I find that these are principles that are helpful for me. So it may not even just be for 20s, but I also think they're principles that could help all of us. But I think this is something that at least Cher and I have talked about, and I think you and I too, Jaden. These are things that are drastically impacting young adults right now.
Yeah.
Where life is stressful. Okay. Any other comments before I throw that out there? I feel like that's a terrible introduction.
Life is stressful.
I would just say though that the world is so weird right now. And there are things that we're all dealing with that are so different than they've been in the past. I feel like the world post-COVID has just been so strange. And trying to figure out how to navigate it emotionally can be really, really difficult, I think, for all of us, but especially for those of us who are still trying to figure out life to some extent, Which granted, everybody's still trying to figure out life, but some of us maybe feel a little more established or grounded in that than others. And so I think that what we're really hoping to do is give people a better understanding about how to take some specific principles, adapt those to your life so that you can thrive through this part of your life, even post-COVID, even in this super weird world with all of these things that we haven't seen before, things like online dating and navigating this world that says, hey, everybody's supposed to be validating you, and just all of these other house prices, a lot of the things that are super strange in the world right now, we can still navigate them. And Josh has this framework that we're going to talk about to help people do that.
And I think I want to just add, you can navigate this successfully. I'm going to try and keep myself in check because this is stuff that I get passionate about. This is probably what you guys want me to do on this video.
It is.
Don't
But
keep it in check.
just maybe one example of this. I remember I'm the oldest of 4 boys. I have 3 siblings. We're all boys. I remember when young, if there was a knock at the door, it was a free-for-all competition to who could get to the door first. Nowadays, there's a knock at the door. Not even my Ring doorbell. It's a knock on the door. I will pull up my Ring doorbell and decide, do I want to speak with this person or not, right? And this is that societal change you're talking about. Our anxiety is higher. We're trying to figure out, how do I navigate social conversations? How do I navigate workplace things? So anyways, without further ado, here's my thought process. Years ago when growing up, my dad would often talk about, Josh, you need to be well-rounded. And I was, sure, Dad, okay, sounds great. It's not until 35 years old when I start to actually think, okay, what does he mean by being well-rounded? And I've come up with a framework. I've not asked him. I don't know if he actually meant this, but I'm assuming this is what he meant, where being well-rounded looks something like this. Cue cool graphic, right? The idea is, what I have lots of clients do is I have them take out a sheet of paper and draw a circle, okay? And then in this circle, I want you to cut it up. You can call it a pizza. You can call it a pie, whatever you want.
Definitely pizza.
Definitely pizza? Oh, yeah, you're not a pie person.
Who likes pie?
It's Thanksgiving.
Gross.
Everybody loves pie,
No.
right? You don't like pie either?
No.
What the heck?
Pizza.
You guys need to be more
Yeah,
well-rounded. I do like pizza too, so it's fine. And then I ask people to label each slice of pie or pizza an aspect of their life that demands their attention. So just for kicks and giggles, if I were to have you guys do this, what would you label some of your slices?
Work.
Oh, employment for sure.
Yeah, family.
Okay.
Like mental health.
I feel like that slice has been growing over the last years. I talk with kids who are 12 or 13, and they're using words that I didn't even know till I graduated college, right? Anyway.
12-year-olds telling you you're gaslighting them.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I think like maybe self-care time or personal time.
Yeah, so taking care of our own emotional health.
Yeah.
Physical health, spiritual health.
Yeah. And these are the topics that I usually pick. I oftentimes throw in some version of academic, and that doesn't have to be school, right? It can be self-help. Sherry, you're like the queen. You're probably the king of reading books. All you do is go around listening to audiobooks and reading
She has
things.
all the books.
Well, I don't know that I've read them, but somebody has read them to me.
I think her next one is Dune.
Oh, no, I'm not
Cue
reading
Dune.
that. That's not happening.
She doesn't want to be too entertained.
No, I lived through the movie, and that was quite enough for me.
She reads research books for fun.
Yeah.
So what I then do, I have everybody label all these pieces, right? So what I usually do is I add a couple of other sections in there, right? We talked physical, spiritual. I throw in financial. I'm passionate about it. You got a comment? Go for it.
No comment, just laughing because of course you threw in some kind of
It's a
finances.
big piece of your pie.
And when you think about the top stressors for people, it's always there, right? Finances are stressful. Then what I like to have people do is draw a second circle. And I like them to draw the size of the slice to be a representation of the amount of time that slice eats in their life. Maybe we'll throw up another graphic that shows this, right? What I generally find is that employment takes up the biggest chunk because you're there all the time, right? So as I reflect on this concept of being well-rounded, in my mind, I think the idea is if you're going to be a well-rounded individual, you should be hitting each of these areas on a regular basis. In my opinion, I would love for all of those areas to be hit every day. Is that realistic? That's up for you in life to determine. But what I think it does require is a little bit of effort on our parts to do those pieces. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it gives us a really good framework going forward to kind of categorize what we're talking about and how things are applicable to certain slices of life and certain different pieces of life and how to address those places and manage those places in a healthy way so they're taking an appropriate amount of your pie.
Yeah, and it's important to recognize, and I think this is something that we'll have to talk about regularly, but if you don't hit a piece of the pie that day, there's something to be said about resiliency and learning how to bounce back or at least not beat yourself up for it, right?
But also regroup and do it differently.
Yeah, make some adjustments to your plan. Go ahead.
Well, so here's kind of what I'm thinking. And guys, this is probably because you were just making fun of me for reading so much. And I think I've talked about this book before because it's so funny. This book has influenced my life in so many ways, but not how you would think. There's this book about Michael Jordan. I think I've mentioned this before, right? Mm-hmm. And this idea of him being unstoppable. And it's written by the guy who was his trainer, mm-hmm. who helped him to become this what he is in basketball. And when I read this book, I thought it was like this self-help book, and I was like, yeah, I want to be unstoppable like Michael Jordan. And as I read the book, I became so aware of how not well-rounded Michael Jordan is. Everything was basketball. Everything. And by the time that I heard everything that he had to give up to become this amazing superstar at basketball, I was like, wow, I really don't want to be like that. Right? I read this book thinking that it was going to motivate me to reach harder. And you know what it motivated me to do? To be really freaking average. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. I want to be really freaking average so that my life is well-rounded. And that means I'm never going to be Michael Jordan at anything. And my goal is to never be Michael Jordan at anything.
You say that, but you're like the Michael Jordan of therapy stuff.
Yeah, right.
This is so not true. And I don't want to be. Because everything that you would have to give up to excel so much in one area so that you're not so average costs you so much as it comes to things like happiness and being well-rounded and having a fulfilling life. And I think that this concept could help people so much. It's helped me so much to let go of the idea of being the Michael Jordan of life or of a certain area of life, and instead say, no, you know what? I'm going to be really freaking average with it all, and I'm going to be really happy about it. And my life is going to be really fulfilling because I'm a well-rounded person with a well-rounded scope of knowledge and activities and relationships and things like that.
I just want to add to that. That doesn't mean if you want to be Michael Jordan, don't go be him. But you may have to wrap your mind around the idea that there are other areas that might be deficient. Right? And be okay with it.
Yeah, and there's no way for that not to cost you. Mm-hmm. If you want to be the Michael Jordan of something, fine. But don't complain about there being no well-roundedness in your life or feeling deficient in other areas, because if you decide that you're going to be the Michael Jordan of something, that's going to happen, and you need to accept that and be happy about it, right?
And it can be okay. You watch his documentary, and I'm like, man, I want to be like Michael Jordan.
Bless you. Read the book.
I want to be like Mike.
Read the book. You will change your mind, I swear.
I think it's an important principle that kind of underlies all of the stuff that we're talking about, is that all of the decisions we make come with a cost, right? Mm-hmm. And being okay with that is a good thing. But it's learning to accept that and learning that you can't always have both. And how do you manage that and be okay with that?
Right. Well, and I think that for a while, the world and society keeps pushing us and saying, no, you can have it all, right? But we've kind of got the wrong message. It's like we feel like we should be able to have it all, as in we can excel everywhere. And that's just completely unreasonable. Some of this has happened for women over the last, a couple of decades. Like, yeah, hey, women, you can have a career and be outside of the home and still have a family. And you know what? Yeah, you can, but you can't be doing both every single minute of every single day. Like, you're going to have to divide your attention, and you're going to have to pick and choose where it is you can do that. And the message that you should be able to do both at the exact same time without having it make you give in anywhere, that's completely unreasonable.
And I hope, at least this is how I'm envisioning it, I hope that as we talk about this and we build a framework for each of these different sections, we can provide some understanding and some information on how to do this efficiently and how to be okay with it, doing it the way that I'm doing it, right? For example, I've noticed over the last little while, I'm a pretty structured individual, which is probably why I like this idea of a framework. But what I've noticed is I am spending a good chunk of time just hanging out with my boy, because that's what I want to do. But I find that my creativity is going down, which I didn't have a ton to begin with. I find that other areas of my life are lacking because I want to be playing trucks and cars and all these things. So one of the things I've started doing recently is listening to a training online. I think I got this from you. While I'm at the gym in the morning, walking on the treadmill for 25 minutes in the morning. I just pop it in and I listen to this training, and I feel like my clinical skills are increasing just by listening to this training. And so I found a gap for 20 minutes in the morning where I can do an academic or an educational piece in my well-rounded, and I'm finding I have a little bit more energy, a little more pep to my step. And so I think hopefully we can provide some ideas in how to do this effectively, and then hopefully some ideas of when you don't do it effectively that you don't beat yourself up.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, I want that pep in my step.
Do a training while you're on the treadmill. Listen to it. So maybe just one thing before we wrap this up. This might be something worth trying. Pull out a sheet of paper, make it blank, draw a circle, divide it into pieces of pizza, apparently, and then label each piece of pizza as these different areas that require your time. Next to it, do another circle and draw that piece of the pizza congruent or representative of the amount of time that it eats out of your day. And see maybe what areas maybe need a little bit more time. It's hard to cut back that work time, right? But maybe what areas need improvement, and then we'll start figuring out where we go from here.
I love it. And so, for the next while, we're going to be taking out different slices of this, and we're going to be looking at some ways that we can improve the health of these different slices of each of our lives to help us just navigate the current world, right?
Yeah, that's my hope. It's worked for me, so I hope it helps other people too.
If it works for you, I'll do it. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're really looking forward to talking more about this, so stay tuned, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.